All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. So, we are a little bit more than 2 weeks away from the start of the 2025 NFL Draft. And you can put me in that category of being very interested as far as seeing what the New York Jets are going to do over the draft. Now, of course, this is the first draft for new Jets general manager Darren Mogi, as well as head coach Aaron Glenn. And so far this offseason, the biggest moves that the Jets have made, first and foremost, they are bidding or have bid farewell to quarterback Aaron Rodgers, and they also went on to sign quarterback Justin Fields. Now, New York, and I talked about this earlier this offseason, and I'll reiterate it right now. New York already has two very solid young running backs in tow in the form of Brees Hall and Braylon Allen, as I expect the Jets in 2025 to focus more on the ground game with this pair of studs that they have in their backfield. And then, of course, once you put Justin Fields into that equation as well. But with that said, okay, what will or what should the Jets do with their first round selection? They're picking seventh overall in a couple of weeks in the draft. And you ask yourself, would the Jets select an offensive tackle in the first round of the draft for the second consecutive year? Olu Fashanu was that guy last season. I'm not sure if the Jets would go offensive tackle 2 years in a row. Could be a possibility. All right. Would they go tight end right here? You got Colston Loveland as well as Tyler Warren out of Penn State, who are both expected to be first round picks in the draft. I know Colston Loveland is rated higher on some people's draft boards. Me personally, I think Tyler Warren and his skill set would be more inclusive or inducive rather to what the Jets are going to look to do, because I really do expect New York to run the football more and really feed off of the play action. And of course, in this current National Football League, it's all about having that hybrid tight end who can be a matchup nightmare for both outside linebackers and safeties. And I think Tyler Warren checks the boxes on all of that. So, I mean, if you're the Jets, I know some people like to focus on where a guy is at on their respective draft boards. Nonetheless, I think Tyler Warren could be an impact player if he went to the Jets. Just my personal opinion on that one. Would the Jets want to go wide receiver? You know, there's some first round wide receivers. You have Tataroa McMillan out of Arizona. You've got Luther Burden out of Missouri. And then, of course, you've got Matthew Golden out of Texas. And of course, the question would be, should the Jets be looking for more speed on the outside, or would they go defense? You've got some guys that could be impact players available there for the Jets. Jihad Campbell, the phenomenal linebacker out of Alabama. You've got Jalen Walker, the fine defender out of Georgia. You've got Malachi Starks, the safety man from Georgia, and sticking with the Southeastern Conference. You got another safety, Nick Emanwari out of South Carolina. Or should the Jets look to trade up or possibly trade down with their pick? Uh, the New York Jets, for the first time in a long time, I think they are entering the draft in a very good position. And I know it's easy to say, well, the Jets have not had a lot of success lately. You know, they really haven't. They have not made the playoffs since 2010, the longest current active playoff drought in the National Football League. And I'm here to tell you, it ain't even close. But the Jets really have an opportunity to come out of this smelling like a rose, because I think first things first, Aaron Glenn has already established what he wants with the Jets. And the reason why I say it is he put his foot down with Aaron Rodgers, something that a lot of people historically have not done. You think about it. Aaron Rodgers, I mean, pardon me, Aaron Glenn rather had played for the Jets. He was drafted by the Jets once upon a time out of Texas A&M, a little bit more than 30 years ago. He also you know, played for Bill Parcells with both the Jets and Dallas Cowboys. Bryce, what's going on, man? I thought we discussed this, man. I thought you said you're gonna take that paper bag off the Lions logo, man. But nonetheless, good to hear from you tonight, man. You're saying as a Lions fan, you're sure rooting for AG to do well in New York. I think he has a possibility to do so, and I think he has an opportunity to put his stamp on this Jets roster right away. And here's why. As I was beginning to allude to, he's a guy that, played for Parcells with the Jets. He also played for Parcells in Dallas with the Cowboys. And then, he was an assistant coach under Dan Campbell for several years in Detroit with the Lions. My point is this. When you think about Bill Parcells, when he typically tends to go to a team, he works on his offensive lines and he works on his defensive lines. First and foremost, he's always like, you know what? You build from the inside out. Okay. Uh, Dan Campbell, since he's been in Detroit, he has focused a lot on the offensive line as well as the defensive line because he just wants toughness and it starts in the trenches. That is why I brought up the possibility of the Jets taking an offensive lineman. But I will say this. I don't think that they will necessarily, in my opinion, in this draft. But I think Aaron Glenn is going to go out there and put his stamp on things and really try to, give the Jets an identity, which is something that they have not had in a very long time. Going back to what I said before, I do think that the Jets are going to focus more on the run game this year. You look at it this past season, the Jets had a little bit more than 1,500 yards. I guarantee you, with Aaron Glenn as the head coach next year, if we're talking about a healthy Brees Hall and we're talking about a healthy Braylon Allen, the two of those guys are going to easily get 1,500 yards combined, if not more, because I think there's going to be more of a focus on the running game. Then I talked about the Justin Fields factor. Now, you already have Garrett Wilson at wide receiver. Garrett Wilson has a rapport with Justin Fields from their time in in college at Ohio State. And I know before I go any further, I know that there are probably some people that are going to like to still they're still skeptical about Justin Fields, and I totally get it. Wasn't good with the Bears, walked into a bad situation, and I think with the way that things didn't go as expected for first overall pick Caleb Williams last year with the Bears. You know what? How much of this are you going to put on Justin Fields right now? He was 4-2 in 6 starts last year with Pittsburgh before he got benched in favor of Russell Wilson, and of course with Russell Wilson at quarterback, the Steelers started off hot and then they fizzled out. But with all of that said, Justin Fields did enjoy a career completion percentage year last year in the 6 games that he played or started, as he completed nearly 66 of his passes. But with that said, I think this is going to be his best opportunity to have success in the NFL because I really do believe that the Jets, I almost said Bears, the Jets are going to focus on running the football more. It's going to set up more play actions for Fields to Wilson. And I think you have a guy like Wilson. And then if you bring in a tight end, in my opinion, that could really, and I mean really, set the dynamic for this team going forward. Wow. You just let me know, Bryce, who your football allegiance is to college wise without saying it. I mean, you're not the first person that I know that is called Ohio State the Sockeyes, but nonetheless, I know. With that said, I guarantee you, you probably bleed maize and blue. But that's a whole nother discussion for another day. But I do think Justin Fields could be set up to have an impact, or could the Jets go defense here? I definitely do not think the Jets are going to take a wide receiver here, and here's why because you're looking at two of the three guys that I named that are more than likely going to go round one of the draft. And some of them, they got red flags already. You're hearing stuff about Luther Burden possibly being a diva. You're hearing stuff about Tetaroa McMillan and film study. I don't think Aaron Glenn wants any parts of that. I think Aaron Glenn wants football players. I think Aaron Glenn wants guys who are committed to his system. And I think Aaron Glenn wants guys who are committed to the New York Jets. And I think this is his first opportunity to go out there and make an impact in the draft. And I think it's going to be a no nonsense approach, in my opinion, for the Jets in 2025. I am not saying this to sit up here and say that the folks in New York City and New York and New Jersey should go out there and start making plans to see a championship parade going down to Canyon and Heroes. Absolutely not. But I do think the mentality, at the very least, will change for the Jets in 2025. I don't think the Jets are going to trade up. I don't think that they're going to trade down either because I think they want to go out there and get an impact player seventh overall. And I think they have a golden opportunity to do so. Okay. And of course, it's a clean slate for Darren Mogi and Aaron Glenn. We don't know what they're going to do, but it's going to be very interesting to see if they can, hit a home run, if you will, in 2 weeks at the draft. So I look at it like this. I always say this with first round picks. When you miss on them, especially when you're picking top 10, it really sets your franchise back about 3 to 4 years. And the Jets have been set back for far too long. Okay. Um, Nonetheless, I think this is an opportunity for Glenn to hit the ground running. If he can go out there, whether he's going defense or whether he's going offense, I think he can hit the ground running and really, at the very least, change things for the Jets as far as them being competitive and maybe being in the mix to be a possible playoff team next year. We've got to wait and see. But nonetheless, a golden opportunity ahead for New York. New head coach, new general manager, and I think this duo is hungry to leave their stamp on Gang Green. So let's see. Let's sit back and see what the Jets have in store for themselves in 2 weeks at the draft. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Bryce, as always, I appreciate you chiming in. Um, I know we talked about the Detroit Lions. I'll bring it up to you right now, my man. Uh, how do you feel? I would imagine I'm going on a limb here. Please feel free to chime in if I'm wrong. But I feel like I'm talking to a guy who's also a Detroit Lions fan and possibly not a Detroit Lions, Detroit Tigers fan, as well as a Detroit Pistons fan. And if you are, how do you feel about the optimism, baseball wise, if you are a baseball fan for the Tigers this season? And if you are a basketball fan of the Pistons, how do you feel about the turnaround there? Please, if you're still here, definitely hit me up in the chat box right there. It'd definitely be appreciated. Um, and as always, folks, if you've liked what you've heard and saw on this podcast, please feel free to hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. I guarantee you it is greatly appreciated. And with the NFL draft right around the corner, definitely be sure to check out this channel. And over the next couple of weeks, as I'll be talking about a lot of things leading up to the draft and also post draft. And you can also check me out on Instagram over the next couple of weeks, as I'll be talking a lot of things about the NFL draft on there at 300 pounds of sports knowledge. If you want to follow me, definitely appreciate the support, folks. Also, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me there, 300 pounds of sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. Also, with the start of the NBA playoffs right around the corner, definitely check me out on this channel. I got a lot to talk about in regards to that subject as well. Also, if you're on Facebook, you can check us out at the Sports Depot 365. Like I always say, it's one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. And no, that is not any biased by my part. But once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off, and I'm saying thanks once again for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.